My sister announced her baby name at my baby shower. I told her husband he wasn't the baby's father. My baby shower was perfect before my sister Beatrice arrived. I was sitting in a big white chair decorated with ribbons, and I was 20 minutes into opening gifts when the back gate swung open, and Beatrice walked in like she was arriving at her own photo shoot. She was wearing a tight white dress that hugged her bump and full makeup, and her hair curled perfectly, and every single head in the backyard turned to watch her. Beatrice put her hand on her belly and announced to everyone within earshot, "Sorry I'm late, but this little one kept me up all night and I could barely drag myself out of bed." People immediately started cooing and asking if she was okay, and telling her how amazing she looked. And I sat there in my ribbon-covered chair, holding a half-unwrapped package of baby blankets, watching my guests swarm my sister. My best friend Corey caught my eye from across the yard, and I could see the irritation on her face. She clapped her hands twice and said, "Okay, everyone, let's get back to the gifts, because Jody still has a huge pile to get through." People slowly made their way back to their seats, but Beatrice positioned herself in a chair directly across from me, where I would have to look at her every time I looked up. She kept her hand on her belly the entire time, and every few minutes she would wince or shift and someone would ask if she was okay, and she would wave them off with this brave little smile. About an hour into the party, I was opening a gorgeous hand-knitted blanket from my aunt when Beatrice suddenly stood up from her chair. "Oh my God, I totally forgot," she said loudly enough that everyone stopped what they were doing to look at her. "I have news. I'm so sorry, I know this is Jody's day, but I just can't hold it in anymore." I felt something cold settle in my chest. I set the blanket down in my lap and watched her walk toward the center of the yard where everyone could see her. "Damon and I finally picked our baby name," she announced with her hand pressed to her bump and this huge smile on her face. "We're naming her Charlie. Charlie Ann. Isn't that perfect?" The yard erupted. People gasped and clapped and started getting up from their seats to crowd around Beatrice. My mom was the first one to reach her, and she pulled Beatrice into an embrace and said, "Oh, honey, that's gorgeous. I love it so much." My aunt was asking how she spelled it. My cousin was saying she knew a Charlie and she was the sweetest girl. Within 30 seconds, my entire baby shower had transformed into Beatrice's baby name announcement. "Can this wait?" I said, and my voice came out sharper than I intended, but I didn't care. Everyone turned to look at me. I was still sitting in my ribbon chair, with the half-opened blanket in my lap, feeling like an idiot. "This is my shower, Beatrice. Can you announce your baby name literally any other day?" The yard went quiet. I saw my mom's expression shift from joy to disapproval in half a second. Beatrice's face crumpled and her hand flew to her chest like I had just slapped her. "Oh my God, Jody, I'm so sorry," she said, and her voice was already getting wobbly. "I didn't mean to upset you. I was just so excited. I thought you would want to know. I thought we could share this moment together since we're both pregnant." "It's my baby shower," I said. "The whole day is supposed to be about my baby. My first baby. This is my first time experiencing any of this, and you just made it about you." "Jody," my mom said firmly, and I could hear the warning in her voice. "She didn't mean any harm. She's just excited. There's no need to make a scene." "I'm making a scene," I said, and I could feel my face getting hot. She just announced her baby name in the middle of my party, and I'm the one making a scene? "Sweetheart," my aunt said gently, like she was talking to a child throwing a tantrum. "It's not a competition. You're both having babies. This is happy news for the whole family." I looked around the yard at all the faces staring at me. My cousin looked uncomfortable. My other aunt was whispering something to the woman next to her. My mom had her arm around Beatrice, who was now dabbing at her eyes with a tissue she had produced from nowhere. Nobody was on my side. Not a single person. Corey was standing by the dessert table and she gave me a small nod like she understood, but she didn't say anything either. "Fine," I said quietly. "Whatever. Let's just get back to the gifts." But the energy had shifted. For the rest of the party, people kept bringing up Charlie. They kept congratulating Beatrice. They kept glancing at me like I was going to have another outburst. I smiled and nodded and pretended everything was fine while inside I was screaming. When the shower finally ended, Beatrice was one of the first out the gate. She hugged me and whispered, "I really am sorry, Jody. I didn't mean to steal your thunder. I love you." Then she was gone before I could respond. She didn't help clean up. She didn't stick around to spend time with me. She got what she came for, and she left. I helped Corey tear down the decorations in silence. Andre kept looking at me with this worried expression. When Corey finally left and it was just us, Andre said what he had been holding back. "That was deliberate," he said. "What Beatrice did. You know that, right?" I nodded. "She waited until you were in the middle of opening gifts and made it about her," he continued. "And then when you called her out, she made you look like the bad guy." "I know," I said. My mom literally took her side, in front of everyone. "So what do you want to do about it?" he asked. I looked at him, and something in my expression must have scared him because his eyebrows went up. "I don't know yet," I said, "but I'm done letting her get away with this." That night, the family group chat exploded. My aunt sent a message saying what a beautiful shower it was and how exciting it was to hear baby Charlie's name. Then my cousin responded agreeing and saying both babies were going to be so cute. Then my mom chimed in, Such a special day. Though I wish Jody hadn't snapped at Beatrice like that. She was just excited to share her news. I stared at my phone. She was making me the villain in a group chat full of people who had watched Beatrice hijack my party. Before I could respond, Beatrice sent a message. "It's okay, Mom. I know Jody didn't mean it. Pregnancy hormones are crazy, lol. I probably should have waited to share. I just got so excited. I love you, sis. And I'm so happy for you." More messages poured in. My aunt wrote that Beatrice was so gracious and mature about the whole thing. My cousin wrote that she hoped Jody was feeling better and that pregnancy really does mess with your emotions. Another cousin wrote that family drama wasn't worth it, and they should all just move on. Not a single person acknowledged that Beatrice had done anything wrong. Not one. I typed out 3 different replies and deleted all of them. Anything I said would make me look more unhinged. She had already controlled the narrative. Andre read over my shoulder and his jaw tightened. "She's good at this," he said. "Too good. Someone who manipulates that easily probably does it about more than baby shower stuff. Start paying attention, Jody. Really paying attention. People like her always slip up eventually." The party went on and I stood there like a prop at my own celebration. But standing there gave me time to think. And to plan. She thinks that little stunt just made her the star of my baby shower. She doesn't realize she just showed me exactly who she is when she thinks no one's paying attention. The second these guests leave, Beatrice and I are having a conversation she's not going to enjoy. I've got questions, and she's going to answer every single one of them. Stay with me because this party isn't over yet. 3 weeks after the shower, my parents hosted a family dinner. I didn't want to go, but Andre convinced me that avoiding events would only make me look guilty of whatever Beatrice was spinning. So we went, and I smiled and made small talk and acted like everything was normal while watching Beatrice like a hawk. She was already there when we arrived, sitting on the couch with Damon and her hand on her belly, glowing in that way pregnant women do when they know everyone is looking at them. When she saw me, her face lit up with exaggerated joy, and she hauled herself up to pull me into a hug. "Jody," she said, "I'm so glad you came. I've been so worried about you." "I've been fine," I said into her shoulder. "Just busy getting ready for the baby." "Of course," she said, and she kept her hands on my arms, looking at me with big, concerned eyes. "I just hope we're okay after the shower. I really am sorry if I overstepped." "We're fine," I said, and I smiled at her and watched her relax. She thought I had moved on. She thought we were good. Exactly what I wanted her to think. During dinner, I positioned myself where I could watch Beatrice without being obvious, and I started noticing things. She kept her phone in her lap the entire meal. Every few minutes, her eyes would flick down, and she would smile at something on the screen. Not a big smile, a small, private smile. The kind of smile you give when you're reading something meant just for you. Damon was sitting right next to her, completely oblivious, talking to my dad about some work project. I watched Beatrice check her phone 6 times in 20 minutes. Each time she would glance down, and her thumbs would move slightly. And then she would look back up and rejoin the conversation like nothing had happened. On the 7th time, she excused herself to use the bathroom. She grabbed her purse on the way, which seemed odd because the bathroom was 10 feet away. She was gone for almost 15 minutes. When she came back, she was smiling wider than before, and there was a flush on her cheeks that hadn't been there earlier. Damon asked if she was okay, and she said the baby was just moving a lot and making her uncomfortable. But she didn't look uncomfortable. She looked energized, almost giddy. After dinner, everyone moved to the living room, but Beatrice excused herself again, saying she needed some air. I waited about 2 minutes and then told everyone I was going to check on her. I walked through the kitchen toward the back door, but stopped when I heard her voice coming from the patio. She was on the phone. I pressed myself against the wall next to the cracked window and listened. "I know I miss you too," she was saying in this soft voice I had never heard her use with Damon. "So much. You have no idea." There was a pause while the other person talked. Then Beatrice laughed quietly. "Maybe tomorrow. I'll tell him I have a doctor's appointment." Another pause. "I love you too, baby. I'll see you soon." I heard her end the call and I moved quickly back toward the hallway. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. I made it to the bathroom and locked myself inside just as I heard the back door open. I stood at the sink staring at my reflection. My face was flushed, and my hands were shaking. I had just heard my married pregnant sister tell someone who wasn't her husband that she loved them, that she missed them, that she would see them tomorrow after lying to Damon about a doctor's appointment. I wanted to burst out of the bathroom and confront her right there in front of everyone. But I thought about what Andre had said. Watch closely. Wait for proof. I didn't have proof yet. Just one overheard phone call. She would deny it. She would twist it into something innocent. She would make me look crazy and paranoid and jealous, just like she had at the baby shower. I needed more. That night after we got home, I told Andre everything. The phone checking during dinner, the 15-minute bathroom break, the overheard call on the patio. Andre listened without interrupting, and when I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "You're sure?" he said. "You're sure you heard her say I love you?" "I'm positive," I said. "And she said she would tell Damon she had a doctor's appointment so she could go see whoever she was talking to tomorrow." Andre ran his hand through his hair. If she's having an affair, this changes everything. It's not just baby shower drama anymore. This is her whole marriage. I know, I said. That's why I need real proof. Something she can't deny or twist. How are you going to get that? He asked. I had been thinking about this since I left my parents' house. She said she was going to see him tomorrow. She's going to lie to Damon and go meet whoever this person is. So I'm going to follow her. Andre's eyebrows went up. Follow her? Like actually follow her car? Yes. Jody, He trailed off. That's what? I asked. Intense, he said. But maybe necessary. If you're going to do this, you're not doing it alone. I'm coming with you. He reached over and took my hand. Whatever we find, I'm with you. But we need to be smart about this. I squeezed his hand. Having Andre with me meant everything. This wasn't just my paranoia anymore. This was both of us together pursuing the truth. Especially because my own family called me jealous and unhinged in a group chat. That's the story now. Poor pregnant Beatrice bullied by her bitter older sister. But Andre heard what I heard. He knows I'm not crazy. And that's enough to keep me going. She thinks she's safe because Mom took her side. She thinks a few tears bought her protection forever. She has no idea we're done reacting and started investigating. Next time I see her, I won't be making accusations. I'll be collecting proof. And when I have it, no amount of crying will save her. I'll be back when I find something. The next morning, we parked down the street from Beatrice and Damon's house and waited. Damon left for work at 8:30. We watched his car disappear around the corner. Then we waited some more. At 9:45, the garage door opened and Beatrice's car backed out. She was wearing yoga pants and a loose sweater, and her hair was in a ponytail. She looked like she was going to the gym. She did not look like she was going to a doctor's appointment. I started my car and followed at a distance. Andre had his phone ready to document whatever we found. Beatrice drove for about 15 minutes and pulled into the parking lot of a yoga studio. Maybe she actually has yoga, Andre said. Maybe, I said. But I didn't believe it. We parked across the street where we could see the entrance and settled in to wait. An hour passed. Then another 30 minutes. I was starting to doubt myself when Beatrice finally walked out of the studio. But she didn't go to her car. She stood outside looking at her phone for a moment, and then started walking down the street in the opposite direction from the parking lot. Where is she going? Andre said. I don't know, but we're about to find out. We got out of the car and followed on foot, staying about half a block behind. She turned a corner, and we hurried to catch up. When we rounded the corner, I saw her disappearing into a small parking lot behind an apartment building. We stopped at the edge of the lot and watched from behind a delivery truck. A door at the back of the building opened, and a man came out. He was tall with dark hair and a sharp jaw, and he was grinning like he had just won something. Beatrice walked up to him, and he pulled her into his arms, and they kissed. Not a peck. Not a friendly greeting. A real kiss. The kind of kiss you give someone when you've been counting the hours until you could see them again. His hand slid down to rest on her pregnant belly, and she laughed at something he said and tilted her face up to kiss him again. Andre had his phone out, taking picture after picture. He got them embracing. He got them kissing. He got the man's hand on her belly. He got Beatrice leaning into him with her eyes closed, looking happier than I'd ever seen her look with Damon. After a few minutes, they turned and walked into the building together. The door closed behind them, and they were gone. We stood there staring at the door. I felt like I had been punched in the chest. Seeing it was different than suspecting. Seeing my married pregnant sister kiss another man and walk into his apartment made it real in a way that suspicion never could. We need to go, Andre said quietly, before someone sees us. We walked back to the car in silence. When we got in, Andre handed me his phone and I scrolled through the photos. Dozens of them. Clear, high-quality images of Beatrice and this man. In some of them, you could see her wedding ring. In some of them, you could see her pregnant belly pressed against his chest. This is it, I said. This is proof. Yeah, Andre said. His voice was heavy. This is definitely proof. We sat there for a while, not saying anything. Then Andre spoke up. You remember last summer when Damon went to Seattle for that big project? The Henderson account? I nodded. Damon had been gone for almost 3 weeks. Beatrice had complained about it constantly. She had posted sad selfies about missing her husband. She had shown up at my house twice because she was so lonely. I've been thinking about the timeline, Andre said. Beatrice announced her pregnancy in October. She said she was 8 weeks along. If that's true, then conception would have been sometime in late August. My heart started beating faster. Damon was in Seattle in late August, I said slowly. He left around the 20th and didn't come back until almost mid-September, Andre said. I remember because we were supposed to do that double date thing and he had to cancel. The math clicked into place. If Beatrice was 8 weeks pregnant in October, then she conceived in late August, when her husband was 3,000 miles away, when she was supposedly home alone missing him. The baby might not be his, I said. The words felt like lead in my mouth. It might not be Damon's baby. Andre nodded. That's what I've been thinking. The timeline doesn't add up unless she conceived right when he got back and was already further along than she thought. But doctors can tell exactly how far along you are from ultrasound measurements. If she said 8 weeks, she was 8 weeks. I looked at the photos on his phone. Beatrice smiling. Beatrice kissing. Beatrice walking into another man's apartment while her husband sat at work thinking about the nursery he had painted. I need to talk to her first, I said. I need to hear it from her before I decide what to do. And if she denies it, Andre asked. She can't deny the photos, but I want to know the full story. I want to know if she's going to tell Damon herself, or if I have to be the one to do it. Andre reached over and took my hand. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. But be careful. Beatrice is backed into a corner and cornered animals are dangerous. I know, I said. But she doesn't know I have these yet. Right now, I have all the power. I sat in my car staring at those photos until my screen went dark. I could send them to the family group chat right now and watch her world implode. But that's too easy. I want answers from her mouth first. She thinks she's untouchable. She thinks turning the family against me means I've got nothing left. She doesn't know I'm holding a bomb with her name on it. Tomorrow I'm showing up at her door. Just us. Beatrice tells me everything, or I tell Damon myself. This ends now. I spent 2 days trying to figure out how to confront Beatrice. I kept looking at the photos and rehearsing what I was going to say and imagining how she would react. On the third day I texted her. I'm coming over, we need to talk. She responded almost immediately. Is everything okay? I didn't answer. I just got in my car and drove. When I pulled up to Beatrice and Damon's house, his car wasn't in the driveway. He was at work. Perfect. I didn't want him there for this conversation. Not yet. I walked up to the front door and knocked. Beatrice opened it within seconds. She must have been watching for me. Her face was tight with worry, and she was wringing her hands. Jody, what's going on? She said. You're scaring me. Is something wrong with the baby? Is something wrong with you? Let me in, I said. We need to talk in private. She stepped aside and I walked past her into the house. The living room was immaculate. Baby things arranged on every surface. A beautiful bassinet in the corner. Photos of Beatrice and Damon covering every wall. I turned to face her. She had closed the door and was standing with her arms wrapped around her belly, looking at me with those big, innocent eyes. What's this about Jody? You're really freaking me out. I pulled out my phone and opened the photos. Then I held it up so she could see the screen. Who is this? I said. The change in Beatrice's face was instant. The color drained from her cheeks. Her eyes went wide and her mouth fell open, and I watched her whole body start to tremble. Where did you get that? She whispered. I followed you, I said. After your yoga class. I watched you meet him outside that apartment building. I watched you kiss him. I watched you go inside with him. I swiped to the next photo. I have dozens more. Do you want to see them all? She shook her head frantically. Her eyes were filling with tears. Jody, please, please delete those. You don't understand. Then help me understand, I said. Who is he? How long has this been going on? Does Damon know? No, she said quickly. No, Damon doesn't know. He can't know. Jody, please, you have to delete those pictures right now. I'm not deleting anything until you tell me the truth. Beatrice put her hands over her face and started crying, but something about it felt performative, like she was buying time, trying to figure out her next move. Those photos are fake, she said through her hands. You photoshopped them or something. I don't know who that man is. Beatrice, I watched you kiss him, I said. I watched you go into his apartment. I stood there for 2 hours waiting for you to come out. You're lying, she said, but her voice was weaker now. You've always been jealous of me. You've been looking for a way to destroy my marriage since the day I got engaged. I have dozens of photos, I said, with timestamps, with metadata. I can see his face clearly. I can see your wedding ring on your finger while you're kissing him. Do you want me to show Damon and let him decide if they're fake? Her crying got louder, more desperate. Okay, fine, she said. Fine, I know him. His name is Cole, but it's not what you think. He's just a friend. We met at a work event and we've been texting, but nothing has happened. That photo of us kissing was just a greeting. It's a European thing, it didn't mean anything. A European thing, I repeated. He had his hand on your pregnant belly. He was just feeling the baby kick, Beatrice said frantically. Lots of people do that. It's not weird. And going into his apartment for 2 hours? We were just talking. I needed someone to talk to. Damon has been working so much and I've been lonely, and Cole is a good listener. That's all it is, Jody, I swear. I stared at her. She was still trying to lie. Even with the photos right in front of her, she was still trying to spin this into something innocent. I heard you on the phone, I said. At Mom's house. I heard you tell him you loved him. I heard you say you would tell Damon you had a doctor's appointment so you could go see him. Beatrice's face went pale. Her mouth opened and closed. I was talking to someone else. A friend from college. You misheard. I didn't mishear anything. You're twisting everything, Beatrice said, and now there was an edge of hysteria in her voice. You're taking innocent things and making them sound bad because you want to ruin my life. How long, I said. How long has this really been going on? I told you nothing is going on. He's just a friend. Beatrice. My voice was hard now. I'm not stupid, and neither is Damon. When I show him these photos and tell him what I heard, he's going to know exactly what's been happening. So you can either tell me the truth right now, or you can wait for him to figure it out himself. Your choice. She stared at me for a long moment. I watched the fight drain out of her. Her shoulders slumped. Her face crumpled. And then she started crying for real. Not the performative tears from before. These were ugly. Raw. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere deep. She sank down onto the couch and curled in on herself, and I stood over her and waited. After a few minutes, she looked up at me with mascara running down her cheeks and something broken in her eyes. His name is Cole, she said quietly. We met at a work event last summer. It was supposed to be one time, but I couldn't stop. I tried to end it so many times, but every time I saw him, I couldn't stay away. Last summer, I repeated, before you got pregnant. Her face crumpled again. Jody, please don't do this. Is the baby Damon's? She didn't answer. She just kept crying into her hands. Beatrice, I said, and my voice was harder now. Is the baby Damon's? She still didn't answer, but she shook her head, slowly, side to side, almost imperceptibly. My blood went cold. Say it, I said. Say it out loud. Beatrice looked up at me, and her face was a mess of tears and mascara and something that looked like relief. Like she had been holding this secret so long that letting it out was almost a release. No, she whispered. The baby isn't Damon's. She's Cole's. The words hit me like a physical blow. I had suspected. I had done the math. But hearing her say it out loud was different. Hearing her admit that she knew, that she had always known, that she had let Damon paint that nursery and pick out that crib and cry at the gender reveal for a baby that was never his. How long have you known? I asked. Since the beginning, Beatrice said, and her voice was hollow. Damon was in Seattle when I got pregnant. He was gone for 3 weeks. I was with Cole the whole time. When I found out I was pregnant, I knew it couldn't be Damon's. The timing was impossible. So, you've known for 8 months? I said slowly. You've known this entire pregnancy that the baby isn't his? Yes. And you let him believe he was going to be a father. I didn't have a choice, Beatrice said, and some of the desperation crept back into her voice. I couldn't tell him. It would destroy him. He wanted a baby so badly. He was so happy when I told him. I couldn't take that away from him. So you decided to lie to him instead. For the rest of his life. You were going to let him raise another man's child and never tell him the truth. He loves me, Beatrice said. He loves Charlie. What does it matter whose DNA she has? He would be her father in every way that counts. It matters because it's a lie, I said. It matters because he deserves to know. It matters because you've been sleeping with Cole this entire time and letting Damon think everything is fine. Beatrice stood up from the couch and faced me. The tears were still there, but underneath them was something harder. You're not going to tell him, she said. Yes, I am, I said. If you don't tell him yourself, I'm going to show him those photos and tell him everything. No, Beatrice said. You're not. She took a step toward me, and I saw something in her eyes I had never seen before. Pure, cold calculation. If you tell Damon anything, I will destroy your life, she said quietly. I'll tell everyone you've been unstable since you got pregnant. I'll tell them you've been having delusions and paranoid episodes. I'll tell Andre that I've seen you lose control, that I'm worried about what kind of mother you're going to be. My blood went cold. You wouldn't, I said. Try me, Beatrice said. I'll call your doctor and tell them you've been acting erratic. I'll tell the family you've been stalking me for months because you're jealous that I got pregnant first. By the time I'm done, no one will believe a word you say. Andre will be too scared to leave you alone with your own baby when she's born. You'll lose everything, Jody. Your marriage, your reputation, your daughter. All because you couldn't mind your own business. We stood there staring at each other. She meant it. Every word. Delete the photos, Beatrice said. Forget this conversation ever happened. And we can go back to being sisters who tolerate each other at family events. Or keep them and watch me burn your whole world to the ground. She walked to the front door and opened it. Your choice, Jody. Choose carefully. I walked toward the door on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else. She had threatened my marriage, my reputation, my relationship with my unborn daughter. I stopped in the doorway and looked at her one more time. You can't keep this secret forever, I said. The truth always comes out. Maybe, Beatrice said. But by then Charlie will be here and Damon will love her too much to care, and you'll have nothing but regret. She pushed the door closed behind me and I heard the lock click. I got in my car and just sat there. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't grip the steering wheel. She knew. She had known the whole time. 8 months of letting Damon believe he was going to be a father. 8 months of watching him read parenting books and assemble the crib and work overtime to save money for a baby that wasn't his. And she was going to let it continue forever. She was going to let him raise Cole's daughter and never tell him the truth. I thought about what she said, about how she would make everyone believe I was unstable, about how Andre would be too scared to trust me with our daughter, about how by the time she was done no one would believe a word I said. She could do it too. She was that good at manipulating people. I had watched her do it at my baby shower. I had watched her do it in the family group chat. I had watched her turn our own mother against me with nothing but tears and a trembling voice. If I told Damon, she would retaliate. She would burn my life down and smile while she did it. But if I stayed quiet, she would get away with everything. She would raise Cole's baby with Damon's money and love and never tell him the truth. She would keep seeing Cole behind everyone's back. She would keep lying and manipulating and winning because nobody ever held her accountable. I sat in my car for almost an hour going back and forth. I thought about my own baby growing inside me and how much I already loved her. I thought about Andre and how solid our marriage was, and whether it could survive Beatrice's lies. I thought about Damon painting that nursery by himself because Beatrice said she was too tired. Damon crying at the gender reveal because he was so happy to be having a daughter. Damon working overtime to save money for a baby that would never share his blood. He was a good man, a kind man, and he was being lied to every single day by the woman he loved. I pulled out my phone and called Andre. "Can you meet me?" I said when he answered. "I need you. We need to go talk to Damon. Together." There was a pause on his end. "What happened?" he asked. "Beatrice threatened me," I said, and my voice cracked. "She threatened to destroy my life if I told him. But I can't stay quiet, Andre. I can't let her do this to him. It's worse than we thought. She knows the baby isn't his. She's known the whole time." Silence on his end. Then, "Where are you?" "Down the street from her house." "Stay there. I'm coming to you. We'll go to Damon together." 20 minutes later, Andre pulled up behind my car. He got out and came to my window, and when he saw my face, he opened my door and pulled me into his arms. "Tell me everything," he said. So I did. I told him about Beatrice admitting the affair, about her knowing from the beginning that the baby was Cole's, about the threats she had made, about how she said she would make everyone think I was crazy and unfit to be a mother. Andre's face got harder and harder as I talked. When I finished, he was practically vibrating with anger. "She's known the whole time," he said. 8 months. She's let him believe that baby was his for 8 months. "Yes," I said, "and she was going to let it continue forever." "Not anymore," Andre said. "Damon deserves to know the truth. Let's go." We drove to Damon and Beatrice's house together. Andre followed in his car so we would both have a way to leave if things got ugly. When we pulled up, Damon's car was in the driveway. He must have come home from work early. Beatrice's car was gone, which meant she was probably at yoga, or with Cole. Either way, she wasn't here, and that gave us time to talk to Damon alone. I parked on the street and Andre parked behind me. We walked up to the front door together and I rang the bell. Damon answered, looking confused. He was still in his work clothes with his tie loosened and his sleeves rolled up. "Jody," he said. "Andre, hey, is everything okay?" "We need to talk to you," I said. "Can we come in?" "Yeah, of course," he said and stepped aside to let us in. "Beatrice isn't here. She had yoga tonight." I felt my stomach twist. She was probably with Cole right now, the father of her baby, while her husband stood here completely oblivious. "That's fine," I said. "Actually, it's better if she's not here. What we need to tell you is about her." Damon's expression shifted. Confusion gave way to concern. "What do you mean?" he asked. "Is she okay? Is something wrong with the baby?" "Damon," I said, and I tried to keep my voice steady. "You should sit down." "You're scaring me," he said. "Just tell me what's going on." I looked at Andre. He nodded and put his hand on my back. I took a deep breath. "I found out something about Beatrice," I said. "Something she's been hiding from you, from everyone." "What kind of something?" Damon asked. His hands were clenched at his sides. "She's been having an affair." The words hung in the air. Damon's face went blank. He stared at me like I had spoken in a language he didn't understand. "That's not funny," he said finally. "I'm not joking," I said. "I have proof, photos. I followed her after her yoga class and I saw her with another man." "That's insane," Damon said, but his voice was weaker now. "Beatrice wouldn't do that. She loves me." "I know this is hard to hear," I said, "but I saw it with my own eyes. Andre was there too. We both saw it." Andre stepped forward. "I took the pictures myself," he said. "We followed her to an apartment building. She met a man outside. They kissed. She went inside with him. He pulled out his phone and opened the photos. I'm sorry, Damon. I really am. But you needed to know." Damon took the phone with shaking hands. I watched his face as he looked at the first photo. The color drained from his cheeks. He swiped to the next one, and the next. His jaw clenched tighter and tighter. His breathing got heavier. When he got to the photo of the man's hand on Beatrice's belly, he made a sound like someone had punched him in the stomach. He lowered himself onto the couch slowly, like his legs couldn't hold him anymore. He kept staring at the phone, kept swiping through the photos, his face cycling through disbelief and devastation, and something that looked like his whole world crumbling. "When were these taken?" he asked. His voice was barely a whisper. "A few days ago," I said. "After her Tuesday yoga class." "Who is he?" Damon asked. "His name is Cole," I said. When I confronted Beatrice about it, she admitted everything. She said they met at a work event last summer. Damon looked up from the phone. His eyes were red and wet. You confronted her, he said. You knew about this, and you went to her first, instead of coming to me. I wanted to give her a chance to tell you herself, I said. I told her she had a week, but then she threatened me. She said if I told you she would destroy my life. She said she would tell everyone I was unstable, that I was unfit to be a mother, that she would make sure no one believed anything I said. Damon's face twisted. She threatened you, he said, to keep you from telling me the truth. Yes, I said, but I couldn't stay quiet. You're a good person, Damon. You didn't deserve to be lied to. Damon handed the phone back to Andre and put his face in his hands. He sat there for a long moment, not moving, not speaking, just breathing. When he finally looked up, his eyes were wet, but his voice was steady. Last summer, he said. This started last summer. I was in Seattle last summer, for 3 weeks. I know, I said quietly. I knew what was coming. I knew the question he was about to ask. And I knew I had to tell him the truth even though it was going to destroy him. Which means, Damon started. Then he stopped. I watched the realization creep across his face. The baby, he said. Charlie. If this started before she got pregnant, then... He couldn't finish the sentence. He just looked at me with desperate hope in his eyes. Hope that I was going to tell him he was wrong. That his daughter was still his daughter. That this nightmare had limits. I couldn't give him that. Damon, I said, and my voice was gentle. When I confronted Beatrice, I asked her if the baby was yours. He stared at me, waiting, hoping. She said no. The word landed like a bomb. Damon's face went completely white. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. She said she's known since the beginning, I continued because I knew I had to say all of it. She said you were in Seattle when she got pregnant. She said the timing made it impossible for Charlie to be yours. She's known for 8 months, Damon. The whole pregnancy. She's known the baby is Cole's and she never told you. Damon made a sound I will never forget as long as I live. It wasn't a scream. It wasn't a sob. It was something broken. Something that came from somewhere so deep inside him that I wasn't sure he even knew it was there. He stood up from the couch and staggered like he was drunk. He grabbed the mantle to steady himself, and his hand knocked into the row of photos displayed there. Him and Beatrice on their wedding day. The two of them at the gender reveal holding pink balloons. A sonogram picture in a frame that said, Daddy's girl. He picked up the sonogram and stared at it. His hands were shaking so badly the frame was rattling. She knew, he said, and his voice was barely a whisper. She knew the whole time. Yes, I said. She knew and she let me believe. He couldn't finish. He just stood there holding the sonogram and shaking. I painted the nursery, he said. I picked the crib. I read all those books. I went to every appointment. I held her hand at the gender reveal and I cried because I was so happy I was having a daughter. His voice cracked. And the whole time she knew. She knew and she let me fall in love with a baby that was never mine. He put the sonogram down carefully. Too carefully. Like he was afraid if he moved too fast he would shatter along with everything else. Then he walked to the window and stood there staring out at the driveway. She'll be home soon, he said. She always gets back from yoga around 7. I looked at the clock on the wall. It was 6:45. Do you want us to leave? I asked. No, Damon said. He didn't turn around. I want you to stay. I want her to see you here when she walks in. I want her to know that I know everything. We waited in silence. Andre and I sat on the couch while Damon stood at the window like a statue. The minutes ticked by. 6:50, 6:55, 7. At 7:03, we heard a car pull into the driveway. Damon's whole body went rigid. We heard the garage door open and close. We heard footsteps in the mudroom. Then the door to the living room swung open, and Beatrice walked in. She was wearing her yoga clothes, and her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she was smiling. The smile died the second she saw us. Her eyes went from me to Andre to Damon standing at the window with his back to her. I watched the color drain from her face as she realized what was happening. What's going on? She said, and her voice was high and tight. Damon? Why are they here? Damon turned around slowly. His face was a mask, completely blank, completely controlled. Close the door, Beatrice, he said. We need to talk. About what? She said. She was trying to sound casual, but I could see her hands shaking. Why are Jody and Andre here? What's happening? Close the door, Damon said again, and this time there was something in his voice that made Beatrice flinch. She closed the door behind her and stood there with her back against it like she was ready to run. I know, Damon said. 2 words. That's all it took. Beatrice's face crumpled. Know what? She said weakly. Don't, Damon said, and his voice cracked. Don't lie to me again. I've seen the photos. I know about Cole. I know you've been seeing him for almost a year. He paused, and his whole body seemed to tremble with the effort of saying the next words. And I know Charlie isn't mine. Beatrice made a sound like all the air had been sucked out of her lungs. She looked at me with pure hatred in her eyes. You told him, she said. I told you what would happen if you told him. She told me because she's a decent person, Damon said. Something you apparently know nothing about. Damon, please. Beatrice said, and she started toward him with her hands outstretched. Please let me explain. It's not what you think. She's lying. She's been trying to destroy me for months. She's not the one who's been lying. Damon roared and Beatrice froze. You are. You've been lying to me every single day for almost a year. You've been sleeping with another man. You've been letting me believe I was going to be a father. And the whole time you knew. You knew the baby wasn't mine. Beatrice turned to me and all pretense of innocence was gone. Her face twisted with rage. This is your fault, she screamed. You did this. You couldn't just mind your own business. You couldn't just let me be happy. Happy? I said. You call this happy? Lying to your husband? Sleeping with another man? Letting Damon fall in love with a baby that isn't his? I was handling it, Beatrice screamed. Everything was fine until you started following me and taking pictures like some psycho stalker. This is my marriage. My life. You had no right to interfere. Andre stepped forward and positioned himself slightly in front of me. She had every right, he said, and his voice was ice cold. Damon deserved to know the truth. He deserved to know that the woman he loved had been lying to him for 8 months. He deserved to know that the baby he's been planning for isn't his. Stay out of this, Beatrice screamed at him. This has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me, Andre shouted back. You threatened my wife. You threatened to make everyone think she's crazy. You threatened to make me scared to leave her alone with our own baby. What kind of sick person does that? I was protecting my family, Beatrice screamed. You don't have a family, Andre roared. You have a web of lies that just collapsed. You have a husband who knows the truth now. You have a baby that belongs to another man. And you have no one to blame but yourself. Beatrice lunged at me. I don't think she even made a conscious decision to do it. One second she was standing by the door and the next she was coming at me with her hands outstretched like claws. She grabbed my hair and yanked hard enough to snap my head back. I stumbled and we both crashed into the coffee table, sending a vase of flowers shattering to the floor. I felt water and glass everywhere as we went down. Beatrice was on top of me screaming and scratching and I felt her nails rake across my cheek. I told you, she shrieked. I told you what would happen. I grabbed her wrists and tried to push her off, but she was wild with fury. She pulled one hand free and slapped me hard across the face. The sound cracked through the room. I tasted blood in my mouth. Something inside me snapped. I stopped trying to push her off and I started fighting back. I grabbed a fistful of her hair and pulled. She screamed and her grip on me loosened. I shoved her sideways and scrambled out from under her. We were both on our feet now, circling each other in the wreckage of the coffee table. Glass crunched under our shoes. Water soaked into the carpet. You ruined everything, Beatrice panted. Her hair was wild and her face was streaked with tears and mascara. You couldn't stand to see me have what you don't, so you destroyed my life. You destroyed your own life, I said. All I did was tell the truth. Something you should have done 8 months ago. She came at me again, and this time I was ready. I caught her wrists before she could grab me and we struggled against each other. She was stronger than she looked. Or maybe rage was giving her strength. She twisted one hand free and swung at my face. I ducked and her fist connected with my shoulder instead. I shoved her backward and she stumbled over a piece of the broken coffee table and went down hard. Andre grabbed me from behind and pulled me away from her. Enough, he said. Jody, stop. I was breathing hard. My face was throbbing where she had scratched me and hit me. My shoulder ached. My whole body was shaking with adrenaline. Damon hadn't moved to help Beatrice up. He just stood there staring at her on the floor like she was a stranger. Like he didn't even recognize the woman he had married. Beatrice pushed herself up slowly and turned to him. She was crying now. Real tears. Ugly tears. Damon, please, she sobbed. I love you. I made a mistake. I made a horrible mistake, but I love you. You made a mistake, Damon repeated, and his voice was hollow. You call this a mistake? A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. A mistake is missing an appointment. This isn't a mistake, Beatrice. This is 8 months of deliberate, calculated lying. 8 months of looking me in the eye every single day and letting me believe I was going to be a father. Beatrice turned to Andre, who was still holding me back. This is your fault, too, she spat at him. You helped her stalk me. You took those pictures. You're just as bad as she is. Andre let go of me and stepped toward Beatrice. I'm bad, he said, and his voice was shaking with anger. I'm bad because I helped my wife uncover the truth about her lying, cheating sister. I'm bad because I didn't let you manipulate everyone into thinking Jody was crazy. You were going to let Damon raise another man's child, Beatrice. You were going to lie to him for the rest of his life. And when Jody found out, you threatened to destroy her. You threatened to make me scared of my own wife. Do you have any idea how sick that is? I was doing what I had to do, Beatrice said. You were being a coward, Andre roared. You got caught, and instead of facing the consequences, you tried to burn down everyone around you. That's not protecting your family. That's being a monster. Get out of my house, Beatrice screamed. You don't get to kick us out, Andre said. This is Damon's house, too, and he asked us to stay. Beatrice turned to Damon with desperation in her eyes. Tell them to leave, she begged. Please, Damon, tell them to leave so we can talk. Just the two of us. I can explain everything. Damon looked at her for a long moment. Then he shook his head slowly. No, he said. There's nothing to explain. You've had 8 months to explain. You've had 8 months to tell me the truth, and instead you lied. Every single day. You looked me in the eyes and you lied. You let me love a baby that isn't mine. You let me plan a future that was never real. I was going to tell you, Beatrice said desperately. After Charlie was born, after you held her. I knew once you held her, you would love her no matter what. I was going to tell you then. You were going to wait until I was even more attached, Damon said, and his voice was pure disgust. You were going to wait until I had even more to lose. That's not love, Beatrice. That's manipulation. Please, Beatrice sobbed. Please, Damon. I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. We can work through this. We can figure it out. There's nothing to figure out, Damon said. The baby isn't mine. You've been sleeping with another man for a year. You've been lying to me every single day. What is there to figure out? We can go to counseling, Beatrice said frantically. We can see a therapist. Couples work through things like this all the time. Couples work through affairs, Damon said. They don't work through 8 months of letting someone believe they're going to be a father when you know they're not. That's not an affair, Beatrice. That's a level of deception I can't even wrap my head around. He walked to the front door and opened it. Get out! What? Beatrice said. I want you out of this house. Tonight. I don't care where you go. To your mom's. To Cole's. I don't care. But you can't be here anymore. You can't kick me out, Beatrice said. I'm pregnant. You're pregnant with Cole's baby, Damon said. Maybe he should be the one dealing with this. Maybe he should be the one watching you cry and beg. I'm done, Beatrice. I'm done being lied to. I'm done being manipulated. I'm done being made a fool of in my own house. Damon, please. Beatrice reached for him one more time and he stepped back. Don't touch me, he said. Don't ever touch me again. I don't know who you are anymore. I don't think I ever did. He gestured toward the open door. Get out. Beatrice looked around the room. At me with blood on my cheek and water staining my clothes. At Andre standing between us like a guard. At Damon holding the door open with devastation written all over his face. At the destroyed coffee table and the shattered vase and the family photos still sitting on the mantel. Something in her seemed to collapse. Her shoulders dropped. Her face crumpled. She stopped fighting. Fine, she whispered. Fine, I'll go. She walked toward the door on shaky legs. When she reached Damon, she stopped and looked up at him. I did love you, she said quietly. Whatever you think of me now, I did love you. Damon didn't respond. He just stood there holding the door. Beatrice walked out into the night. A few seconds later, we heard her car start and pull out of the driveway. The headlights swept across the windows and then she was gone. I never sent that apology,